The stars looked peaceful. Captain Reyes stood on the command bridge of the ISS Aegis, arms crossed behind his back. The dark screen in front of him flickered with the live broadcast from Earth. In the center of the Galactic Council Hall, tall banners of the Varnock Empire and United Earth fluttered in perfect symmetry. The Varnock leader, Grand Chancellor Karzel, smiled with all four of his jagged mouths. Beside him, President Lian of Earth returned the gesture. Cameras flashed. Applause erupted. The peace treaty had just been signed. Reyes didn't clap. He didn't even blink. "They're lying," he muttered. Commander Ashira glanced over. "Sir," he didn't look at her. "I've seen that smile before." Ashira frowned. "Sir, we've won. The war is over." "No," Reyes said coldly. "It just changed shape." Silence fell between them as the ceremony ended. The broadcast cut to news anchors celebrating a new era. Reyes walked slowly toward the holotable at the center of the bridge. "Pull up Varnock fleet movements over the last 72 hours. He ordered. Ashira hesitated, then followed the command. Still tracking minor shifts near the Harken belt. Could be resupply operations. "Could be," Reyes said, "but it isn't." His fingers hovered over the map, highlighting a cluster of Varnock destroyers near Sigma 12. "That's where it started," he whispered. Ashira tilted her head. "Sir, Sigma 12 was ruled a miscommunication, an accidental weapons discharge." "Tell that to the children who burned," he snapped. Ashira stiffened. Reyes sighed, his voice lowering. "I was there. My squad responded to the emergency beacon. We arrived too late. The Varnock ship claimed a reactor overload, but there were no signs of reactor failure. No warning logs, just ... scorched earth and melted cities." Ashira remained quiet. She'd read the classified reports, but she hadn't lived them. "They test boundaries," Reyes continued, "poke and prod. See how far they can go before we snap. Now they have a treaty, and everyone thinks it's over." Ashira folded her arms. "So what do we do?" "We watch," he said, "and we wait." Later that night, Reyes sat alone in his quarters. The lights were dim, the silence heavy. He stared at the encrypted file he had reopened for the 100th time Sigma 12 after-action report. Images flickered across the screen. Charred skeletons, vaporized buildings, craters that stretched for kilometers. His cum beeped, he answered. Voice low, "Reyes." "This is Ensign Varga, in astrophysics." The voice came, shaky. "Captain, we just picked up an anomaly." Reyes straightened. "Details." "There's an energy surge near the Harvax drift. Same signature as Varnock. Phase cannons. But it's under a stealth field." His eyes narrowed. "You sure?" "Yes, sir. We only caught it because a solar flare disrupted their cloak for a second. We thought it was a glitch, but it's repeating. They're powering up something." Big Reyes stood up. "Log it. Send all data to my terminal. And don't tell anyone else." "Yes, sir." He cut the line and tapped his cum again. "Bridge, prepare recon drones. Stealth mode only. Target the Harvax drift." Ashira's voice came through. "Captain, you think they're about to break the treaty?" "No," Reyes said coldly. "I think they never intended to follow it." 2 days passed. The drones returned. Reyes stared at the footage. 5 Varnock battlecruisers hovered behind a dark moon, shielded from human scans. Beneath them floated a massive weapon platform. It wasn't listed in any treaty report. It wasn't even supposed to exist. Ashira stared at the images beside him. "Why build that during peace?" "To strike first," Reyes said. "They're planning something. The treaty was just a cover. A stall tactic. We should warn Command." Reyes shook his head. "Command wants peace. They'll bury this. But if we act alone, we don't." He cut her off. "We gather proof. Real proof." Just then, a soft ping echoed from the console. An intercepted transmission blinked on the screen. Reyes opened it. The voice was deep, guttural, unmistakably Varnock. "Phase 1 is complete. The humans suspect nothing. Proceed to initiate Phase 2. Target Earth's outer colonies." Ashira's eyes widened. "They're going to hit our colonies." Right after the treaty, Reyes clenched his fists, and we just laid down our arms. Reyes gathered his senior officers in the command room. "We have one chance," he said. "We intercept their fleet before they reach the colonies. We expose the betrayal to the galaxy. Once they attack, the treaty is broken. Until then, we need them to strike first. On record, Lieutenant Garros spoke up. But that means we let them fire. Reyes nodded. We let them think they've won, and when the smoke clears, we hit them so hard the stars shake. There was silence. Then Ashira stepped forward. What if Command calls us rogue? Then we save humanity as rogues. The ISS Aegis moved silently through space, cloaked. The Varnock fleet remained unaware. Drones streamed live footage back to Earth, storing it in multiple secured channels. Everything was being recorded: weapon movements, fleet patterns, timing, logs. Ben. The moment came, a Varnock cruiser opened fire on Outpost Gamify. Plasma beams tore through the station's shields. Fire consumed the com tower. Civilians screamed. The betrayal had begun. Reyes stood, stone-faced. Broadcast the footage. He ordered all frequencies, Galactic Cancel, Earth Command, civilian nets. Let the galaxy see the truth. Ashira hit the switch. Screens across planets flickered. Peace was shattered in real time. Reyes gave the next order without blinking. Target their weapons. Take them out. Show them what happens when you stab humanity in the back. The Aegis fired. Red lances of energy pierced the Varnock cruiser. One by one, enemy ships erupted in flame. The silence of space was gone, replaced by war. 3 days. Later, Reyes stood again on the bridge. This time, the screen showed chaos. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Earth Command called emergency meetings. The Varnock Empire denied everything until the footage surfaced. Civilian eyes saw the betrayal. Politicians saw votes at stake. Soldiers saw the truth and humanity. United once more, Ashira approached him, quiet. They know you are right, she said. Reyes didn't smile. He simply nodded. They called it peace, he said, but it was just another weapon. Ashira glanced at the stars. What now? Reyes turned from the screen, his voice steady. Now, we answer fire, with fire. The message played again on every screen. Phase 2 initiated. Target, Earth colonies. People screamed. News anchors froze. Military officers stared at their screens in silence. The peace treaty had been broken. The lie was exposed. But far from Earth, on the edge of known space, Captain Reyes was already moving. The ISS Aegis raced through space, its engines burning blue in the void. Behind it, the stars stretched like knives. Ahead of it, war-weighted. Captain Reyes stood in the command center, his face calm but cold. All systems green, Ashira reported. Fleet Command is still silent. No orders. Of course not, Reyes muttered. They're still hoping. The Council can talk this down. Lieutenant Garros glanced up. Should we wait? Reyes turned to him. No, we move now. Every second we wait, another colony dies. He pointed to the holomap hovering above the table. Red lights blinked across the Orion frontier, human colonies now under attack. Set course for New Bastion, Reyes ordered. Target. Ashira raised a brow. That's a civilian planet. No defenses. Reyes nodded grimly. Which is exactly why they'll strike it. New Bastion was peaceful till the sky opened in fire. The Varnock fleet arrived like shadows. Dropping from subspace with howling engines, without warning, they began their assault. Cities exploded, skies turned red, people ran through the streets, screaming. A mother clutched her child as plasma burned the horizon. Above them, Varnock warships fired again. And then, something changed. From the clouds. A flash of white light sliced through the sky. A human railgun slug, moving at 30 times the speed of sound, tore through the lead Varnock cruiser. In an instant, its engines exploded. The ISS Aegis had arrived. Target. Confirmed. Destroyed, Garros shouted. Good, Reyes said. Now let's make sure they remember who they're fighting. The Aegis dove toward the Varnock fleet. Railguns hammered. Point defense lasers traced deadly lines across the void. Every shot was aimed. Every impact brutal. Varnock ships scattered. But Reyes wasn't finished. Launch drones, he barked. Override their comms. I want their own systems, screaming our warning. Within moments, the Varnock ships began receiving a hacked message in their own language. "You lied. We were ready. Run while you still can." Ashira watched as 2 more alien ships exploded, sir. "They're retreating." Reyes narrowed. His eyes, no, they're regrouping. He pointed to the tactical feed. Several ships weren't leaving, they were pulling back into a tighter formation. They're not fleeing, they're preparing a counterstrike. Alarms began to beep. Brace for return fire. Garros shouted. The Varnock fleet unleashed a wave of energy blasts. Plasma bolts surged toward the Aegis, lighting up the void. The shields flared. Reyes gripped the rail. "Hold the line. If we fall, new bastion burns." The Aegis shuddered under the impacts. Lights flickered. Sparks flew. "Shields at 60%, Ashira yelled. "Focus fire on their battleship," Reyes said calmly. "Take out the head. The body dies." Garros locked in coordinates, firing. All forward batteries. Massive cannons roared. 2 railgun slugs hit the Varnock flagship dead center. The ship buckled, cracked, and then exploded in a ball of fire. The remaining Varnock ships began to scatter, this time for real. "Now they run," Reyes said quietly. Hours later, the sky over New Bastion cleared. The fires still burned, but the people were alive. Reyes stood in the hangar bay as shuttles flew rescue teams to the surface. Ashira approached him, bruised and tired. "We saved them," she said. "But this isn't over." No, Reyes agreed. "Now the Council knows the truth. Now Earth knows." He stared into space. "And the Varnock know what happens when you betray humanity." Back on Earth, emergency sessions lit up the halls. Of power, the footage from Aegis spread like wildfire. Leaders panicked. Generals mobilized. The peace treaty was declared void. Earth's war fleet was officially reactivated, and in hidden shipyards deep under Luna's surface. Project Revenant awakened. Far away on the Varnock homeworld, Grand Chancellor Karzel watched the footage. He snarled. "Begin Phase 3, he ordered. "But Supreme One," his aide said, "the humans now fight back." Karzel smiled with all 4 mouths. "Then it will be entertaining." Deep under the surface of Earth's moon, machines stirred. Not many knew about the vault. Fewer knew what it contained. It was called Project Revenanta Last Resort, a myth, a ghost from humanity's darkest wars. Now that ghost was waking. For decades, Project Revenant had been buried in silence. The war with the Varnock had almost ended it once before. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. The Council forced it into deep storage, calling it inhumane. But when the treaty collapsed and Varnock fleets scorched human colonies, Earth had no choice. Now, red lights glowed inside Vault A9 beneath the lunar surface. Robotic arms reconnected dormant systems. Fusion cores hummed. Something old, something deadly. Came online, above ground. A private shuttle descended into the hidden moon base. Inside it, General Lin Wei sat in silence, eyes locked on the incoming readouts. She had been one of the original architects of Revenant. She had also buried it, and now she had come to wake it. The vault doors opened with a low groan. Dr. Voss, the lead cyberneticist, approached her with wide eyes. "We're almost online. General, 6 units, already active. We'll reach full capacity in 24 hours. "Make it 12, she replied. "That's not safe." "The neural core Voss," she cut in. "We don't have time to." "Be safe." The Varnock just wiped out 3 outer colonies. The Aegis barely stopped them at New Bastion. "If we wait, we die." He swallowed and nodded. General Lin walked through the vault, past towering mech frames, black armor, red visors, fusion-powered limbs. Each one stood silent, waiting for the command to destroy. She stopped before the largest unit, Revenanto 1, codenamed Gravedigger. "This one's mine," she said. Meanwhile, in deep space, the ISS Aegis prepared for another strike. Captain Reyes stood before the galactic war map, studying red pings that kept multiplying, their fleets splitting. "Into 3 groups, Ashira said, pointing. "They're targeting supply lines, probably to cripple our fuel and food systems." Reyes nodded. "Coward tactics. Strike fast, bleed us dry." Garros leaned in. Fleet Command finally responded. "We're ordered to hold position." Reyes laughed bitterly. "Hold position while they burn more of our people." He looked out the viewport. No, we move. If they won't stop the bleeding, we'll cauterize it ourselves. Command might call that insubordination. Rhea's tone was sharp. Let them there sitting in bunkers while the Varnock roast families were done waiting. Suddenly, a comm signal buzzed. Incoming high-level transmission. Secure channel Earth. Luna Beza Shira raised an eyebrow. Luna, that's not command. The message played on screen. General Lin appeared. This is General Lin Wei. Project Revenant is online. First wave of units ready for deployment. Coordinates en route. Support required. Reyes stared at the screen. He had only heard whispers of Revenant, Black Ops machines, deathmechs, cybernetic ghosts. They actually brought them back, he murmured. Ashira stepped forward. That's suicide, even for us. Reyes shook his head slowly. No, that's vengeance. 12 hours later, the Aegis met the Revenant transport fleet above the shattered colony of Taras-5. The sight was terrifying. 3 Revenant assault carriers floated like silent gods. Below them, dozens of drop pods descended to the ruined surface, each one containing a machine built for one purpose: annihilation. Ashira watched from the bridge. They look ... inhuman. Reyes nodded. That's the point. Who's leading? Them. Before he could answer, another pod dropped from the skylarger, heavier. It smashed into the surface with a quake. From the dust rose a towering figure. Gravedigger. General Lin's voice crackled through the comms. I am, and we're not here to talk. The Revenant units marched forward. Their red visors scanned. Their arm cannons powered up. VAR, NAK soldiers still picking through rubble. Didn't even have time to scream. Plasma met metal, and the Varnock died screaming. On the bridge, Ashira flinched. They're slaughtering them. They're executing. Justice, Reyes said. The Varnock showed no mercy. Why should we? But they're more machine than man. Reyes looked at her. Then maybe that's what this war needs. Below, the Revenants cleared the enemy in under 6 minutes. Not one human unit was lost. Reyes watched the battlefield in silence. He saw fire, smoke, blood, and something else. Fear. For the first time in the war, the Varnock were afraid. Back on the Varnock flagship, Grand Chancellor Karzel watched the footage. One of his advisors trembled. Supreme One. We underestimated them. They've awakened. Machines, killers. Karzel narrowed his eyes. Then we must awaken something worse. He turned toward a dark corridor lined with old symbols. Send the signal to the void. Shriekers. If the humans want monsters, we'll give them nightmares. In deep space, far from any star, a strange beacon pulsed in the dark. It had been silent for 1,000 years, buried, feared, forgotten. But now, at the edge of the void, it woke. And when it woke, so did they. The Varnock called them the Void Shriekers. They were never meant to return. But the humans had brought back Revenants. So the Varnock answered with something worse. In the hidden system of Kratal, beyond the reach of standard star charts, black spires rose from a dead moon. Around them, strange energy fields pulsed, bending space. Inside the tallest tower, ancient stasis pods cracked open. 8 tall, insect-like beings stirred within, shrouded in shadows, covered in biometal armor, their spines lined with sharpened bone. These were the Void Shriekers, a lost Varnock experiment, abandoned during the early days of galactic war. Too dangerous, too uncontrollable. But now, the Chancellor wanted them back, and they obeyed. Only one thing: the scent of war. On the ISS Aegis, Captain Reyes watched a hologram spin slowly. It showed the location of recent skirmishes. But now there were strange report ships disappearing without a trace. Blackened husks floating in space, entire Varnock scout patrols erased. Ashira stepped into the command room, face tense. Sir, we have a problem. Reyes raised an eyebrow. Another one. This is different. It's not the Varnock this time. He turned fully toward her. Explain. She tapped a console. A fuzzy recording played, a Varnock cruiser drifting near an asteroid belt. Then static. A shriek echoed. Metal twisted, and the ship simply vanished. Reyes frowned. Where was this recorded? Sector Thatton 19, she said. Right near the old cradle system, you know it. He stiffened. Old war records. The place was flagged as off-limits. By both sides, we were told to never go there. Garros stepped in, and now the Varnak are sending ships there and losing them. Ashira looked at both men. Whatever's in that system, it's not human, but it's waking up. Meanwhile, in orbit above Teros 5, General Lin stood beside Revenant 01 Gravedigger. The battlefield below had cooled, but not for long. Reports from Earth Command were pouring in. Varnak fleets were thinning, but not in a way that made sense. They're not retreating, Lin said to Voss, who stood nearby. They're redirecting, like they're opening space for something bigger. Voss nodded slowly. You think they've awakened something else? I know they have, she said grimly. They're scared. And scared Varnak do reckless things. Suddenly, her com chimed. Incoming encrypted signal. Priority Alpha.Lin. Opened it. The face on screen wasn't Reyes, it was an admiral from Earth's Strategic Threat Command. We have visual confirmation, the admiral said. The ship exited the cradle system. It wasn't Varnak, and it tore through one of our recon probes like tissue paper. What kind of ship? Lin asked. We don't know. It moved like a ghost. Biological in structure, no heat signature, but it screamed our crew heard it in their minds. Even through the hull, Lin's face darkened. Void shriekers. The admiral nodded. We need you and the Aegis to intercept. Before they reach human space, on the Aegis, Reyes locked eyes with Lin through the holocom. I thought the Revenants were the monsters, he said. Lin shook her head. We're the fire. These things, they're the plague. Ashira stepped forward. Do we know how to stop them? Lin's voice turned grim. We don't. We've never faced them before. Not directly. Reyes glanced around the bridge. The crew was tense. The air felt tight, like the calm before a storm. Then it's time we learn. He turned to Garros. Plot a course to cradle. Maximum speed, full battle readiness. Hesitated, sir. That system is cursed. Reyes nodded. Good. Then let's give the curse something to fear. The Aegis dropped out of FTL in sector Theta-19. It was quiet to quiet. Space itself felt strange here, like the laws of physics twisted slightly. Lights flickered, instruments glitched. Ashira held her breath. I don't like this, she whispered suddenly. Alarms blared, multiple contacts, closing, fast. From the darkness, 7 ships emerged. They weren't ships. Exactly, they looked like a mix of insect and machine. Long, sharp limbs, glowing red cores, wings made of bone and dark crystal. And they didn't fly, they slithered through space like predators. Then they screamed. Everyone on the Aegis flinched. Some clutched their ears. The scream wasn't sounded, was something deeper. It hit the brain, Garros shouted. Crewman Rodriguez just collapsed. His brainwaves spiked. It's psychic. Reyes didn't flinch. Raised shields. All forward batteries. Fire now. The Aegis fired railgun slugs and plasma lances slammed into the nearest shrieker. It twisted midspace, its armor cracking, but it didn't fall. It kept coming, so did the others. ASHIRA gasped. Sir, they're immune to most electronic targeting. They're jamming us, biologically. Reyes made a snap decision. Deploy Revenant support team. If these monsters want war, they can meet Earth's own nightmares. On the surface of a nearby asteroid, Revenant drop pods landed hard. Gravedigger was the first out. The Revenants moved with machine precision, locking on targets, scanning weaknesses, firing in deadly silence. A void shrieker dove toward them, screeching. Gravedigger didn't flinch. He aimed, fired, and hit its throat. Acidic fluid sprayed across the rock. The beast shrieked again, but this time in pain. Another shrieker lunged from behind. Gravedigger spun, caught its head, and crushed it between both arms. Dr. Voss, monitoring from the orbital carrier, stared in awe. They're matching them, blow for blow. General Lin stood behind him. No, she whispered. They're learning. The battle raged for hours. The Aegis took heavy damage. Shields failed then. Recharged. Revenants fought hand-to-claw in space and on rock. And in the end, the shriekers retreated. They bled. They roared. But they ran for the first time in centuries. Something had wounded them. On the bridge, Reyes stood breathing hard. Ashira leaned on the console. exhausted. "They're not invincible," she said. "No," Reyes agreed. "But they're not done either." Back in the cradle system, deep inside a forgotten temple, something stirred. The Void Shriekers screamed again, this time not in rage, but in summoning dot and in the darkness beyond their stars. Something bigger screamed back. The Void Shriekers were beaten, but not broken. Their retreat wasn't fear. It was a call, a summon. Something ancient heard that call, something that once made even the Shriekers kneel. And now it was awake. The humans had no name for it. The Varnak called it only one thing: the Hollow Star. Space twisted near the cradle system, not bent, not warp-twisted, as if something behind reality was pushing through. A rift opened. Black tendrils reached out from it, slow and silent. Then a shape emerged, massive, towering. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive, but it moved. No engines, no fire, just pure gravitational pull wrapped in shadows. Varnak sensors screamed. Human satellites went dark. Even the Void Shriekers, monsters of metal and flesh, stopped and bowed. Something beyond understanding had arrived. On the ISS Aegis, Captain Reyes stood at the central holotable. He didn't move. No one did. Ashira whispered, "What is that?" The hala displayed the object's mass, size, and movement, but couldn't identify what it was. Garros frowned. "Sir, our scanners say it's the size of a moon. But it has no core, no structure, just hollow energy." Reyes stared hard. "Put it on the view screen." The image shifted. A dark sphere floated through the void, like an eye carved from shadow. Jagged rings orbited it. Sparks of crimson light blinked deep inside. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive, but Reyes could feel it watching them. Ashira whispered again. "It's breathing." Far below, General Lin stood in Revenant. Control, staring at the same image, Voss gripped the rail. "This thing, it's not just a weapon." "No," Lin said. "It's a memory. Something the galaxy tried to forget." Voss turned. "How do you fight a memory?" Lin's answer was cold, with something worse. She activated the Revenant Prime protocol. From underground bunkers, hidden even from most of Earth's leadership, 4 black warframes rose from stasis. "Launch the primes," she said. "We just went beyond war. This is extinction prevention." In the Galactic Council's emergency chamber, chaos ruled. Species argued, some blamed Earth. Others begged the Varnak to stop the madness. The Varnak delegates said nothing, until one of them, Advisor Gakin, spoke. "We warned you," he hissed. "We told you never to wake the humans. Now look, their rage has stirred. What sleeps in the deep?" They brought back revenants, and now the Hollow Star is moving. This galaxy is doomed. One counselor demanded to know, "What is the Hollow Star?" Gakan's response was simple: "The grave of civilizations, and it is hungry again." Back aboard the Aegis, Reyes made a decision. Send a recon probe into the Hollow Star's gravitational field. Let's see what it's made of. Hesitated, sir. That probe won't survive. Then sent it. The probe launched. Within seconds, it disappeared from sensors. No explosion, no data, just silence. Then suddenly a single image came through before the feed cut. Stared in horror. "What is that?" The image showed something inside the Hollow Star, a world not made of matter, but of bones, shipwrecks, cities, civilizations. Crushed into a hollow sphere of death, it was feeding on them suddenly. Alarms blared. Massive energy spike detected. "The Hollow Star is charging something," Reyes shouted. "Evasive maneuvers. All power to shields." From the center of the dark sphere, a massive beam of black-red light shot out. It tore through an uninhabited moon-like paper. The explosion was silent, but the shockwave reached across systems. Ashira gasped. "If that had hit Earth..." "It didn't," Reyes said. "But it will, unless we stop it." Garros shook his head. "Stop that? With what?" A signal came through. General Lin's voice echoed through the Aegis bridge. "You stop it with death." 4 icons lit up on the hala, Revenant Prime units deployed at the edge of the cradle system. 4 dark shapes approached the Hollow Star. Each stood hundreds of meters tall. Each had minds copied from Earth's most dangerous war tacticians, and none of them were human anymore. Revenant Prime Alpha, Ashen King. Revenant Prime Beta, Skullmark, Revenant Prime Gamma, Voidblade, Revenant Prime Delta. Motherless Reyes stared at the Hala. You sent them in alone. Lin replied coldly, they're not meant to survive. They're meant to weaken it. Ashira shook her head. We're sacrificing them. Reyes stepped forward. No, we're sending a message. The 4 Prime Revenants landed on the surface of the hollow star. It wasn't metal, it wasn't stone. It moved. The Primes activated their core weapons, graviton spikes, singularity bombs, antimatter blades, and they began to tear pieces out of the hollow star's outer shell. The star screamed, not with sound, but with distortion, time-warped, light-bent. Ships near the surface melted. Entire data logs were corrupted by the sheer wrongness of it. But the Primes kept fighting. One by one, they fell. Voidblade was crushed by the gravity core. Skullmark vanished in a burst of quantum fire. Motherless dragged 3 Shriekers into the abyss with her. Only Ashen King remained, and then he triggered his final protocol, a black hole detonator. The screen went white. Back on the Aegis, the crew watched the shockwave ripple. The hollow star recoiled. Its orbit shifted. One ring shattered. Cheers broke out on the bridge, but Reyes stayed quiet. Not enough, he whispered. ASHIRA looked at him, sir. He turned. That thing. It's not finished. We heard it, but now it's looking at US. In deep space, the hollow star changed course. It pointed straight at Earth, and it began to move. The stars dimmed. One by one, satellites around Earth stopped working. Communications failed. Power grids trembled. People looked up and saw it, a giant black sphere in the sky, silent, still, watching. The hollow star had come to Earth, not to negotiate, not to warn, but to finish what the war had begun. Panic spread across Earth. Emergency sirens screamed across every continent. News stations reported what they didn't understand. The object is not a moon. It's a weapon, possibly. Alive, people prayed. Some fled. Others simply stood, frozen, staring at the dark shape in the sky in orbit. The ISS Aegis joined the remaining Terran defense fleet. Captain Reyes watched the monster through reinforced glass. Ashira whispered, I can see it with my eyes, and I still don't believe it's real. It is, Reyes said grimly, and it's here for us. In Earth's command bunker, General Lin stood over a massive war table. Hundreds of blinking lights, marked weapons, fleets, orbital cannons, defense satellites, all aimed at the hollow star. Dr. Voss entered with a trembling datapad. It's adapting, he said. Everything we throw at it, it learns. If we hit it again with the same kind of force, it just absorbs it. Lin nodded slowly. Then we don't hit it the same way. She tapped the table. Begin protocol, Black Storm. Unleash everything nuclear, quantum, gravitic. But General, she looked up sharply, we are not fighting to win anymore. We are fighting to make it bleed. In space, the Terran fleet moved. Hundreds of ships, carriers, destroyers, missile frigates, drone swarms. Behind them, Earth's Reyes stood at the helm. Of the Aegis, all hands, he said through the comms, this is your captain. The enemy you see out there is older than anything we've faced. It devours civilizations. It lives on extinction. He paused. But today, it will choke on us. The comms went silent for a second. Then every ship's crew roared. Charged. The hollow star didn't fire. It just opened. A rift in its side cracked wide, like a mouth tearing itself apart. Inside, glowing tendrils moved. Shipsvernach and human were fused into its walls. Their metal screamed then. Came the void. Shriekers, dozens of them. Now changed, upgraded. Each one fused with part of the hollow star's energy, faster, smarter, angrier. They hit the human fleet like a storm. On the Aegis, systems screamed enemy. Shriekers closing in. 6 targets, no 12 no, engage defensive grid. Reyes barked. All flak cannons active. Drones flew, lasers fired, space lit up with deadly flashes. But the Shriekers didn't just attack, they tore. Into ships with claws, they screamed into mines. Half the fleet scattered. One Terran cruiser spun out of control and crashed into another. Reyes gripped the console. Where are our heavy guns? Ashira shouted, charging. But we'll only get one clear shot. He pointed, then aim it at the heart. Back on Earth, Lin gave the order. Black Stormfire. From bunkers, silos, and orbital platforms, humanity launched everything it had. Over 300 warheads, quantum destabilizers, EMP lances, zero-point detonators, they streaked through space like angry stars. Some shriekers were vaporized mid-flight, others blocked with their bodies, but most of the weapons hit the holostar, and for a second, it paused. Its surface cracked. Red light poured out. The scream that followed didn't come through air, it came through space itself. Every sensor went blind. Every pilot saw their screens melt into static. Ashira gripped her chair. Is it dying? Reyes shook his head. No, it's angry. The holostar pulsed once and unleashed its counterstrike. A gravity wave swept through the fleet. Ships buckled. Crews screamed. Some were turned inside out. Reyes watched two destroyers fold in half like paper, brace for impact. The Aegis rocked violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Garros slammed into a wall. Ashira pulled herself back up, coughing. Main reactors holding barely. Reyes looked up. The holostar was now moving, descending toward Earth in the war bunker. General Lin stared at the seismic readings. Voss whispered, "If it gets any closer, the tides will collapse. Earth's crust will break." Lin didn't hesitate. Prepare Revenant Command override. Send the last 20 units. Groundfall. But the Shriekers, they'll have to go through hell first. On the surface, Revenant drop pods landed in every major city in New York. Beijing, Johannesburg, Tokyo, São Paulo. Civilian evacuations were underway, but the streets were chaos, one child cried, under a collapsed building, until a black-armored Revenant stepped over the rubble. Lifting debris with one hand and shielding the child with the other, they were monsters, but they were ours. The holostar began to drop atmospheric drones, floating parasites made of shadow and metal. They attached to buildings, spread infection, converted machines into twisted bio-hybrids. Then the sky turned red. The Void Shriekers dove. Revenants fired back. Railguns and particle blades flashed in every direction. The world became a battlefield above. The Aegis prepared its final shot. Garros shouted, "Main cannon is ready, but we'll lose power for 10 minutes. Reyes didn't hesitate. "Line it up. We'll buy time with blood." He stared into the darkness. "Let's remind them, Earth is a death world." The shot fired, a blinding white beam cut through space and pierced the holostar's cracked core. The scream that followed shattered windows on Earth. The holostar reeled, cracks spread, its orbit tilted. It was wounded, but not destroyed. "Not yet." Ashira looked up. "Sir, it's falling toward the planet," Reyes whispered. "Then we bring it down on our terms." On Earth, Lin stared at the sky. The holostar now looked like a second moon, bleeding, broken, but falling. She tapped her command console. "Prepare the last protocol." Voss's eyes widened. "We're actually using it." Lin stared coldly. "If Earth falls, no one survives. If we can't win," she paused, "we bury them with us." All over Earth, people stood frozen, staring up at the sky. The holostar hung above the clouds like a god made of black fire. It was falling slowly, silently, but it was falling. The atmosphere shook. Oceans boiled. Skies turned red. And in the Earth command bunker, General Lin placed her hand on a key that hadn't been touched in 100 years. A key meant for one thing only, the last protocol. If it turned, there would be no going back. The bunker was silent. Everyone stared at the device, a small control terminal with a ring of rotating lights. It looked harmless, but what it triggered was not. Dr. Voss whispered, "Are you sure?" Lin didn't answer. At first, her eyes were on the screen, where the holostar glowed like a second sun, drawing closer every minute. Cities were burning, satellites crashing, gravity fields tearing the planet apart. The Revenants were holding the Shriekers back, but just barely. She turned to Voss. "If we don't use it, Earth dies. If we do, we might stop this thing, or destroy the planet anyway." Lin didn't blink. "Better we choose how we die, than let that thing decide." She turned the key. The lights on the console flashed. The last protocol was armed. Above Earth, the ISS Aegis drifted at half power. Most of the Terran fleet was gone, broken, scattered, or falling into the Holostar's gravity field. The Aegis floated with shattered engines, cracked hull plating, and only one last railgun battery. Online. Captain Reyes stood on the bridge. Blood ran down one side of his face, but he was still standing. Ashira struggled to stay upright. "Sir? What did General Lin just activate?" Reyes stared at the blinking light on the corner of the main display. The Omega code Garros looked pale. "That's a myth. No one ever confirmed it was real." "It's real," Reyes said, "and it's buried under Antarctica. Thousands of miles away, deep beneath layers of ice and stone, something massive. Awoke. A buried vault opened with a quake. Inside, not a weapon, but a machine. Not built for war, but to end war. They called it Judgment. Standing over 2 kilometers tall, made of alien and Terran technology combined, the Judgment construct had one purpose: to deliver a final strike powerful enough to destroy a god. And now it was moving. Back in orbit, the Holostar opened again. Its outer ring spun faster. Lightning sparked inside it. Something inside pulsed. Sir Ashira said, "I think it's trying to collapse space. It's creating a singularity." Reyes stared. "It's going to swallow Earth into itself, and everything else with it." Reyes clenched his fists. "Not if Judgment fires first." On the surface, the Revenants were outnumbered, but not broken. Gravedigger led the charge, his railgun arm firing non-stop. His armor was cracked. Sparks flew from his side. But he kept going. Shriekers swarmed around him, tearing into buildings, ripping through tanks. One leaped at him. He caught it mid-air, slammed it to the ground, and fired a round into its core. Children were being loaded into evacuation transports. Civilians screamed. Fire roared in the sky. Gravedigger turned toward the falling Holostar. His targeting systems pinged. Target locked. Core. Mass. He transmitted coordinates directly to Antarctica in the southern ice. The ground split wide. A voice echoed across the world, calm, emotionless, cold. Target confirmed. Judgment online. Final strike commencing. Lin watched the display. Begin countdown. 60, 59, 58. Voss muttered, "If this fails, it won't. We lose everything." Lin stared at the screen. "We already have." In space, the Holostar shrieked. The sound shattered windows on Earth. Hundreds collapsed. Some simply disappeared, pulled into microscopic folds of space. Ash Hera clutched her ears. "Sir, people are dying just from the pressure." Reyes gritted his teeth. "Come on, Lin. Fire that monster." 10, 9, 8. The Judgment construct lifted its head. Above it, the Holostar glowed brighter. The singularity core formed a twisting hole in reality. The sky went black. 3, 2, 1. The Earth shook. Judgment fired. From the South Pole. A beam of light, thicker than a mountain, erupted into the sky. It tore through the clouds, burned through the atmosphere, and slammed into the Holostar's core. The result was silence. Everything froze. Time. Bent. Then the Holostar screamed. Its rings exploded. Its core cracked. Its gravity failed. The shockwave hit in waves. Over a dozen shriekers disintegrated midair. Fires were snuffed out. Skies cleared. Ashira stared as the darkness above Earth started to tear apart. "It's breaking." "No," Rhea said. "It's dying." On the ground, Gravedigger looked up at the collapsing Holostar. Pieces of it fell like black fire. Debris rained down but were caught in orbit, shredded by what remained of Earth's orbital grid. And then, for the first time in days, the sky turned blue again. Inside Earth Command, the power flickered. Voss looked up in disbelief. "It worked, General." Lin didn't smile. She simply turned the key back. Protocol deactivated. Earth had survived, but at what cost? The next morning, silence ruled. The Holostar was gone. Its remains drifted in orbit like broken teeth. Cities were half ruined, displaced, but Earth was still spinning. Humanity had done the impossible. They hadn't won peace, but they had bought time, and they had made the galaxy. Understand one truth: you can push humanity to the edge, but when Earth fights back, even the stars bleed. The Holostar was gone. Its black fire was shattered, its silence replaced by sunlight. But the galaxy did not celebrate. It did not cheer. Instead, it watched. Billions of eyes, from 1,000 worlds, stared toward Earth. They had seen the judgment weapon. They had seen humanity survive the end. Now they wondered, what will the humans do next? 2 days after the destruction of the hollow star, a strange quiet fell over the galaxy. No ships moved in or out of Earth's orbit. No council envoys arrived. No broadcasts, no threats, no messages. Only watching. The galaxy waited for humanity's next move. Because for the first time in history, Earth had fought back against something older than time, and and that made every empire nervous. On board the damaged ISS Aegis, the repair crews worked around the clock. The ship floated above Earth, scorched and scarred. But alive, Captain Reyes stood on the bridge, staring down at the planet. "Still can't believe it," Ashira said behind him. "Believe it," Reyes replied. "We bought our future with fire." Garros joined them. "We've received over 30 encoded transmissions from across the galaxy. No threats, no alliances, just silence." "Fear?" Reyes muttered. Dadashai raised an eyebrow. "Ours? No. Theirs." In the depths of the Varnak homeworld, Grand Chancellor Karzel met with his High Council. His tone was bitter. "They destroyed the hollow star. That wasn't supposed to be possible." A lesser advisor trembled. "Our readings show it wasn't just the construct. They activated judgment. We didn't even believe that thing existed." Karzel slammed a clawed hand on the table, and now it does. "We underestimated them." Again, another general spoke. "What should we do?" Karzel stared at the hologram of Earth. "We wait. They will show us their path. Peace or retribution." On Earth, General Lin stood inside the ruins of Central Command. Judgment had returned to its vault beneath the ice. The key had been removed, the protocol deactivated, but the world had changed. A massive conference was underway at Unity Hall in Geneva. What remained of the Terran Alliance gathered their leaders: generals, scientists, civilians. Everyone wanted one thing: answers in the Grand Chamber. Lin stepped forward to speak. "We didn't choose this war," she said plainly, "but we finished it." She paused, letting the silence settle. "The galaxy saw our strength. They saw our resolve. But what matters now is what they see next." Murmurs filled the room. One representative stood. "Are we going to retaliate? The Varnak broke the treaty. Billions are dead. Should we strike back?" Another followed. "Or do we rebuild? He'll show the galaxy that Earth isn't only a weapon." Lin nodded slowly. "We are a weapon. But we are also something more." She turned toward the holographic display above Earth, glowing faintly in orbit. "We are memory, we are fury, but we are also the future." Outside the chamber, protests filled the streets. Some demanded vengeance. Others begged for peace. But above all, the people were afraid. Not of aliens, not even of the hollow star. They were afraid of themselves, because humanity had survived the worst, and now held the power to destroy anything. On the Aegis, Reyes stood alone in his quarters. A private message blinked on his consulate encrypted file, labeled "Only from the Edge." He opened it, a single sentence appeared. "We saw what you did. We remember who you were. Now, who will you become?" Attached was a star map showing systems beyond known space, old ruins, lost colonies, unknown threats. Ashira entered behind him. "You okay?" Reyes stared at the map. "Someone's watching. Not the Varnak. Not the Council. Someone older." She studied the map. "You think this is a warning?" Reyes shook his head. "No, an invitation." Far away, on a hidden station orbiting a dying red star, a council of old beings met in the dark. They were not part of the galactic order, not Varnak, not Terun, not Shriekers. They were the observers. They had watched for eons. They never interfered until now. "The humans have reached the threshold," one of them said. "They survived the hollow star. They activated judgment. They saw into the void and did not flinch." Another replied, "It is time." The chamber echoed with a voice older than stars. "Let them in, back on Earth." Lin stood with Voss. At the crater where a Shrieker had fallen, its metal still pulsed faintly. Its body twitched. "We never understood how these things worked," Voss muttered. "Not fully." Lin nodded. "Time to change that. You want to study them?" "No," she said. "I want to prepare for what?" She stared into the sky for what comes after fear. The Galactic Council finally broke its silence. A message was sent to Earth, not with demands, not with terms, just one question. Are you ready to lead? In Unity Hall, Earth's leaders debated for hours. Should they accept a seat at the Council? Should they remain apart? Should they strike out, claim territory, expand? Reyes joined the discussion via secure channel. His words were simple. Let them fear us, let them respect us, but above all, let them never forget what we are. Lynn nodded from across the hall. We are Earth, the world that stood alone, the world that burned and kept burning, in orbit as the Aegis underwent repairs. A new ship began construction beside it, bigger, stronger, built with tech scavenged. From the hollow star itself, its name would be a message to all who watched the stars. TNS Vengeance, and stamped on its armored hull, were 3 words. Peace through fire. Some said the war was over. The hollow star was gone. The skies were clear. Earth had survived. But deep inside every human, something had changed. A spark had been lit. A fire that would never go out. They had faced extinction and refused to die. And now, that fire burned hotter than ever. Not for revenge, but for the future. 2 weeks after the fall of the hollow star, Earth's cities were slowly rebuilding. Ash fell from the sky like snow in some regions. Others were still dark, their power grids shattered by the battle's shockwaves. But one thing was clear: humanity would not stop. Children returned to ruined schools. Factories reopened under emergency protocols. Engineers worked day and night to rebuild satellites and defense networks. The scars were deep, but the will to rise again was deeper. At Earth Command, General Lin stood on a platform, looking down at the recruits lined up below. Thousands of new soldiers, volunteers. Some had lost family, others had survived orbital attacks. But all of them had the same look in their eyes. Ready. Lin didn't speak from a podium. She spoke directly. You're not here to fight old wars, she said. You're here to protect a future that should have never existed, but does, because Earth fought when no one else would. She paused. Remember this. We do not want war, but if it finds us again, we will answer. Meanwhile, in orbit, the TNS Vengeance neared completion. Larger than any previous Terran warship, built with reverse-engineered fragments of the holostar, its hull could bend plasma. Its core was powered by an antimatter fusion grid. Its AI was developed from Revenant protocols but smarter, more stable. Reyes walked along the command deck. Inspecting progress, Ashira joined him, reading a tablet. 5 more days, then she flies. She? Reyes asked with a smirk. Ashira nodded. She's got teeth, big ones. Garros entered behind them, face serious. Sir, we've received another encoded transmission, same signature as before. Reyes raised a brow. The unknown sender. Yes, they've sent coordinates this time. A system just past the Veil Rift. Reyes leaned over the console. The map expanded, showing a dead zone-uncharted space where even Varnak ships vanished. They want us to follow, Ashira said. Then we will, Reyes replied. Back on Earth, Voss worked with a team of scientists, deep underground. The remains of 3 void shriekers were held in stasis fields, their twisted bodies pulsing faintly. What are you hiding? He muttered, scanning one's neural core. The screen blinked. Something inside was alive, not fully but enough to twitch when scanned, enough to whisper in pulses of energy. Then the pattern changed. The pulses formed shapes, symbols, letters, lurds, words. Voss leaned in. It was a message. More will come. His eyes widened. General Lin, he called. You need to see this. Lin arrived minutes later. She stared at the display. Is that language? Yes, Voss replied. And it's not Shrieker. This is something else. What does it say? Voss hesitated. Not just a warning. It's a countdown. 3 hours later, the Terran Council met in emergency session. We think there's another wave, Lin said. Not from the Varnak, not even from the Shriekers. From something deeper, deeper than the Holostar. One diplomat asked. Voss nodded. Yes, we think the Holostar was just a gatekeeper. The room fell silent. Reyes joined via secure uplink. We've been sent coordinates. Someone or something is calling us out. Do we answer? Lin asked. Reyes didn't hesitate. Double quotes, yes. This fire in our blood. It wasn't just survival. It's evolution. It's who we are. Now he paused. We follow the trail, not to conquer, not to rule, but to understand what the galaxy really isn't. What's coming next? The TNS Vengeance launched 2 days early. Its massive engines lit up the night sky. People across Earth watched as the ship rose faster, brighter, stronger than any vessel before it. It carried the hopes of a planet and the fire of a species that refused to kneel. On board, Reyes took the captain's chair. Ashira stood beside him. Garros at tactical. A crew of the best Earth had left. The ship passed the last orbital ring ahead, the stars, and beyond them. The unknown set course, Reyes ordered. To the Veil Rift, Ashira nodded. Coordinates locked, Garros glanced back. You sure about this, sir? Reyes looked out the window. No, he said, but that's never stopped us before. As the Vengeance entered FTL, Earth grew smaller behind them, but its fire burned. In every heart aboard, the fire of a species pushed to the edge and reborn. The stars were cold. The systems ahead were dead. But the signal was still calling a whisper in the dark. Just beyond the Veil Rift, it had survived black holes, ancient wars, even the Hollow Star. Now it reached for humanity. And humanity reached back, not in fear, but with fire. The TNS Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light near the Veil Rift, before the crew space shimmered like glass. A swirling mass of collapsed gravity and ancient debris floated like broken teeth. Ashira stared at the display. This place shouldn't exist. Garros scanned. No stars, no planets, but there's a structure deep inside the rift. Captain Reyes stood slowly, put it on screen. The image sharpened, a ring mass of ancient orbiting. Nothing. It wasn't spinning. It wasn't transmitting. But something inside pulsed, alive, waiting back on Earth. General Lin watched from the orbital command center as the feed from Vengeance streamed in. The council members behind her argued. Some begged her to recall the ship. Others insisted on sending more. She stayed silent, eyes locked on the dark ring. Dr. Voss appeared beside her. You know what that is, don't you? She nodded. A test, onboard Vengeance. The ship drifted. Closer. Suddenly light flared. The ring activated. Beams of data, energy, and memory pulsed outward. They didn't attack. They spoke. Ashira gasped. It's communicating. Reyes leaned forward. Translate. The ship's AI filtered the pulses. A message formed across every screen. You have survived the hollow. Now face the heart. Another. Pulse. To walk forward, you must burn brighter than all before you. Garros whispered. It's a challenge. A right. Reyes stood. Then let's answer. The Vengeance moved into the ring. At once the stars around them bent. The rift swallowed. The ship hole. No fire, no damage. Just silence. Then they emerged into light. A massive star system stretched before them. Dozens of ruined worlds, wreckage from long-lost wars, dead ships from forgotten species, and at the center, a black sun. Not a hole, not collapsed, but a live dot, and orbiting it a fleet, vast, ancient. Alien dot, not machines, not shriekers, something new, something waiting. Ashira ran scans. These ships aren't active, but their power signatures are terrifying. They're not firing. Added, they're observing. Reyes nodded. Then let's show them what Earth is. He stood. All power to main core. Load plasma lances. Prep fighters. Ashira looked up. You're not attacking, are you? No, I'm proving we can. The Vengeance lit up. Its hull gleamed. Weapons rotated. Drone bays opened. A single beam of energy fired not toward the ship, but into the black sun. A signal. A challenge returned. The ancient fleet moved. One ship broke, formation drifting forward. Single beam scanned the Vengeance, then powered down. On the main screen, a new message appeared. The fire is in you, the galaxy may follow. Reyes blinked. Did they just bless us? Ashira smiled slightly. Or warn the rest? Far beyond the rift, across known space, thousands of listening posts, spy satellites, and hidden sensors all triggered at once. From Varnak core worlds to distant trader ports, one message echoed. The humans have crossed the veil, and with it, a second, shorter sentence, prepare. Back on Earth, chaos returned. But this time, not from war. From odd reports came in from systems once thought dead now reawakening. Old machines powered back on, ancient vaults opened, and in each one, a word was written in a language billions of years old. In Unity Hall, Earth's council stood in full session. Lynn stood before the galaxy's watching eyes. "We've gone beyond survival," she said. "Beyond defense?" She pointed upward, toward the stars. "Now we become what the galaxy feared, and what it hoped, not rulers, not tyrants." She paused, but guardians. Reyes watched from orbit as Earth rotated below. Ashira approached. "They've sent a message, every major power, even the ones that once hated us." "But what do they want?" he asked. She smiled, to stand beside us. The vengeance turned toward the stars. Behind it, Earth scarred but strong. Ahead, systems waiting, dangers unknown, secrets buried in time. Reyes placed his hand on the glass. "We were never meant to survive," he said softly. "But we did. Now we lead." He turned to his crew. "This is not the end of the war. It's the beginning of something greater." Ashira asked, "What do we call it?" He looked out at the endless stars. "The era of fire. The end."